The Young and the Restless spoilers Wednesday full December 3, 2025. The undercurrents of tension in Genoa City continue to swell as new revelations threaten to expose fractures within families, ignite old resentments, and push volatile relationships to their breaking points. Among them, the Abbott sisters, Ashley Abbott and Tracy Abbott, find themselves on the verge of learning something deeply troubling, a discovery that will ripple through the Abbott household with consequences none of them are prepared for. As Jack formulates increasingly drastic strategies to counter Victor Newman's AI assault, Ashley and Tracy grow uneasy, sensing that the situation is far more severe than Jack has admitted. Their instincts sharpen, their concern intensifies, and soon they will uncover a truth that could alter the trajectory of Jabot and their family forever. Meanwhile, across town, Crimson Lights becomes the center stage for a different kind of confrontation, one dripping in emotional venom and unresolved tension. Audra Charles and Nate Hastings sit across from each other, two ex-lovers now bound by bitterness rather than passion. Their history hangs in the air like a storm cloud, dense, charged, and moments away from collapse. Audra, ever the storm herself, refuses to hide her resentment. She unleashes accusation after accusation, digging her nails into Nate's pride with a precision that suggests she has been rehearsing this confrontation in her mind for weeks. Her anger is not just anger, it is a wound torn open, a betrayal she has not recovered from, and the realization that Nate has moved on more quickly and more cleanly than she can tolerate. Nate, though not immune to her fury, remains strangely calm. He has always viewed Audra as intoxicating yet dangerous, a woman whose ambition often overshadowed her heart. As she lashes out, Nate is reminded of the lies she told during her time in Nice, France, lies about her intentions, her loyalty, her dealings with Kyle Abbott, and her attempts to manipulate everyone around her while pretending to be the victim. Nate remembers every red flag Audra ignored, every boundary she crossed, and every warning sign he chose not to see until it was too late. Her anger now does little to sway him. Instead, it reinforces the clarity he gained after their breakup. And that clarity points him back toward Victoria Newman. Victoria has always been the steadying force in Nate's life, the one woman who saw his potential, supported his ambition, and challenged him without intent to control him. Their chemistry, once smothered by family politics and professional tension, has begun rekindling slowly and organically. Nate finds himself drawn again to Victoria's quiet strength, her intelligence, her warmth, and the emotional safety he never found with Audra. The more time he spends with Victoria, the more he realizes how destructive his relationship with Audra truly was. Where Victoria brings stability, Audra brings chaos. Where Victoria inspires growth, Audra encourages risk. Where Victoria sees the best in him, Audra manipulates the worst. Audra sees this shift, and it terrifies her. She has spent months trying to regain Nate's trust, trying to prove she could be softer, kinder, more stable, more honest. She attempted to rewrite her story, to present a version of herself less rooted in ambition and more grounded in sincerity. But Audra Charles has always struggled against her impulses, always battling the instincts that push her toward self-preservation at any cost. And when she realizes Nate is truly slipping beyond her grasp, the facade cracks. Her true nature, sharp, predatory, cunning, emerges once more. Memories of her liaison with Kyle Abbott in France flash through her mind, the secret moments she believed she could bury deep enough to avoid consequence. She had played with fire, believing she could juggle Nate's heart and Kyle's ego at the same time without either man discovering the truth. She saw Kyle as a means of influence, of maintaining leverage in a city full of power players. But even then, her games cost her far more than she anticipated. Kyle used her as much as she used him, and when their summer affair blew apart, she lost not only a lover but also credibility within the Abbott orbit. Her attempt at reinvention was nothing more than a temporary mask, and now, as Nate pulls away definitively, Audra feels the panic of losing control over her own narrative. Nate watches her closely now, seeing the shift in her eyes, the subtle way her voice hardens, the flicker of calculation beneath her fury. He knows what this means. Audra is unraveling. And when Audra unravels, someone always pays the price. Audra's realization that she has truly lost Nate is a catalyst she cannot emotionally survive. It forces her to confront a truth she has long denied. Nate was the only person who ever made her feel grounded, safe, seen. Losing him is losing a piece of herself. And Audra Charles has never handled loss gracefully. She reacts with retaliation, not reflection. She targets others, not herself. And as she sits in crimson lights, staring at the man who has chosen to move forward without her, she begins to calculate her next move with dangerous precision. If she cannot reclaim Nate Hastings, she will simply redirect her wrath. The question is, who will her next victim be? Ashley and Tracy? Her former co-workers? Kyle? Victoria? Or perhaps Kane Ashby, another wounded, vulnerable soul she could twist into a tool for her own revenge? Audra thrives in chaos, and the chaos currently shaking Genoa City provides endless opportunities for manipulation. She can insert herself into the Abbott-Newman war. She can exploit the fractures between Jack, Ashley, and Tracy. She can weaponize the truth about Victor's stolen AI. She can blackmail Kyle. She can sabotage Victoria. She can seduce someone new. She can create alliances built on lies and destroy them when they no longer serve her. Because the more she loses control of her own life, the more determined she becomes to control the lives of others. For the Abbott sisters, the timing could not be worse. They stand on the edge of discovering something significant, something that threatens the foundation of Jabot and their father's legacy. Their uncertainty about Jack's shutdown plan already haunts them, clouding every discussion, every strategy session, every decision they must make as co-guardians of John Abbott's empire. And now, with Audra on the warpath, their vulnerability becomes her opportunity. Tracy, with her empathetic nature, might fall prey to Audra's emotional manipulation. Ashley, struggling with her own internal battles, might be pushed into conflict with Jack because of information Audra strategically leaks. Audra could destabilize Kyle further, worsen the fractures already present in the Abbott family, and slip through their defenses before they realize they've let a fox into their henhouse. Audra Charles has always survived by moving faster than her enemies, striking before they can anticipate her next move. And now, pushed to emotional limits, humiliated, rejected, and stripped of the one person who saw goodness in her, she becomes more unpredictable than ever. Genoa City has learned many lessons over the years, but none more dangerous than this. Hell hath no fury like Audra Charles scorned. And as she stalks out of crimson lights, her heels clicking like warning shots across the polished floor, one truth becomes clear. Someone in Genoa City is about to become her next target, and they won't see her coming. The storm gathering over Genoa City finally erupts as the Abbott family confronts the gravest threat Jabot has faced in decades, one orchestrated by the cunning, relentless force that is Victor Newman. What began as Kane Ashby's reckless attempt to dominate the corporate world through his AI creation has spiraled into a full-scale war between two of the most powerful families in Wisconsin. And now, with Victor in possession of the stolen AI program, the Abbotts no longer have the luxury of hesitation. They must face the danger head-on, even if it means sacrificing stability, safety, and the family unity they have spent generations fighting to preserve. Jack Abbott delivers the news with the solemn weight of a man who understands the magnitude of the moment. The look in his eyes alone is enough to send Ashley and Tracy into immediate concern, but the words that follow strike them with a deeper fear. He tells them plainly that Kane's AI, Aristotle Dumas, is now in Victor's hands. He explains how Phyllis Summers stole the drive, how Victor manipulated her desperation, and how he now possesses a tool powerful enough to cripple Jabot from the inside out. He paints a picture of what Victor can accomplish with such a weapon, shutting down supply chains, altering financial systems, manipulating data, rewriting internal documents, and sowing confusion among executives and employees. Jabot isn't simply vulnerable. It is exposed, naked, and standing at the mercy of a man who has been waiting decades for the perfect opportunity to take it down. For Ashley, the revelation cuts deeper than Jack realizes. She is not just hearing about Victor Newman's ambitions as a business rival, she is hearing them as his ex-wife, a woman who once stood beside him, admired his power, and understood his ruthlessness. Victor always struck first, always struck hard, and always struck without apology. She knows the ferocity behind his strategic mind. She knows how he operates. And she knows that once Victor has decided a target must fall, he will not stop until every alternative path ends in destruction. So when Jack begins explaining the intricacies of his counterattack, Ashley's instinctive response is suspicion. Not because she doubts his loyalty to Jabot, but because she fears what Jack might sacrifice in order to protect it. Ashley questions him bluntly, asking what exactly he intends to do to stop Victor, and instantly she dislikes the answer. Jack speaks of aggression, disruption, and war, terms that Ashley has learned to associate with the darkest periods of her life. He talks about shutting down systems, reconfiguring networks, going dark for months to deny Victor access, and even publicly positioning Jabot as operationally unstable to throw Newman off the scent. Ashley hears these strategies and feels the old dread rise in her throat. She worries about the company, about the employees, about the legacy of their father John Abbott. But more than that, she worries about Jack. Victor brings out a version of him that she rarely sees, cold, calculating, and deeply wounded. Jack's long-standing rivalry with Victor Newman has always danced on the edge of obsession, and Ashley fears that this time, Jack may cross a line he cannot come back from. Tracy, standing nearby, absorbs every word with the gentleness and empathy that define her. She listens to Jack's fear, Ashley's confusion, and the looming threat over their family. She has always been the emotional anchor of the Abbott clan, the one who sees beyond strategy into the cost of each decision. And now she worries that the cost of this war will be their unity. She watches Jack, whose shoulders seem smaller beneath the weight of leadership, and she watches Ashley, whose sharp intellect begins to twist into anxiety. Tracy knows that fighting Victor Newman will demand sacrifice, and she can already feel the emotional fractures forming beneath the surface. Her heart aches with the knowledge that no matter what decision they make, someone will be hurt, something will be lost, and the Abbott name will be forever changed. Jack pushes forward, determined to ensure they understand the necessity of going on the offensive. He tells them plainly that if they sit back, if they attempt diplomacy, or if they simply wait for Victor's next move, Jabot will fall. He vows that he will not let Victor destroy their father's company, not again. The last time Victor infiltrated their world, the Abbotts nearly lost everything. Jack refuses to watch history repeat itself. He tells Ashley and Tracy that he has already begun assembling a counterstrike, a temporary shutdown of Jabot systems, emergency cybersecurity reinforcements, encrypted restructuring of the company's internal databases, and a series of legal and financial traps designed to mislead Victor long enough to regain control. It is a bold plan. A dangerous plan. A plan that forces the Abbotts to go to war in a way they have never dared before. Ashley and Tracy exchange glances, their unease growing with each passing second. They understand Victor's tactics as well as Jack does. They know he thrives on dominance, manipulation, and fear. They have both experienced the Newman Empire's shadow in different ways, Ashley through marriage, Tracy through decades of business rivalry and heartbreak. They know that Jack's instinct to strike back is not merely justified, it is necessary. But the brutality of his plan leaves them unsettled. They worry about the consequences. They worry about escalation. And they worry about the emotional toll this battle will take on the people they love. Yet in the end, they also know one inescapable truth: Victor Newman will not stop until he gets what he wants. And what he wants is Jabot. As tension builds, a new rumor begins to circulate among the restless citizens of Genoa City, a whisper that the town is about to witness a clash unlike anything in its history. Residents talk in hushed voices about the warrior men, the two powerful patriarchs who have shaped their city for decades. Jack Abbott and Victor Newman, two men cut from entirely different cloth but forged in the same fire of ambition, rivalry, and legacy. Their feud has always simmered beneath the surface, erupting in brief explosions before settling again. But now, with Kane's AI weapon on the battlefield, the stakes have skyrocketed. This is no longer a personal rivalry. It is a crisis that could tilt the balance of power in Genoa City forever. Even those outside the corporate sphere feel the tremors. Business owners worry about the fallout. Investors watch the market with growing fear. Employees whisper about job security. Families dread the emotional consequences of the upcoming clash. Because when Jack and Victor go to war, the impact doesn't stay contained within boardrooms or company walls. It spills into everyday life, affecting friendships, marriages, alliances, and the very fabric of the town. Ashley and Tracy sit with this knowledge, feeling the weight of responsibility settle across their shoulders. They understand the gravity of Jack's plan. They understand why he feels cornered, why he sees no other option, why he is willing to burn everything down if it means protecting the legacy their father left behind. They love Jack, but they fear what this war will make of him. They fear the version of Victor he will be forced to become. And they fear that in trying to save Jabot, they may lose a part of themselves in the process. Still, they know they cannot walk away. Jabot is not just a company, it is the heartbeat of the Abbott family. It is the legacy of John Abbott, the glue that has held them together through decades of love, loss, betrayal, and rebirth. To abandon it would be a betrayal far worse than any Victor Newman could orchestrate. And so, reluctantly, anxiously, but inevitably, Ashley and Tracy accept the truth: the Abbotts must go to battle. The lines are drawn. The strategies are set. The war, silent, digital, psychological, emotional, has begun. Genoa City will never be the same again. But neither will the Abbotts. Because this time, they are not merely defending their company. They are defending their identity, their legacy, and the last living memory of the man who built their world.